Well, I really need to start using like a lower grade camera for when I do these impromptu things. Ugh. All right. Anyway, new news. New news. Breaking news. I guess that's why they say breaking news, because new news is anyway. Not important. What is important in this unprecedented third day in a row of the third day? Yeah, third day in a row of no, third one, but anyway, third video in a row of the whole breaking news thing. At least something I consider breaking news on healthcare. As it turns out, Trumpcare, the bill that the House GOP was in a rush to pass, had such a fucking hard on to pass that they actually pushed it through by a margin of like 1 or 2 votes before, like, while still doing changes or making changes to it the night before they passed it. That one. The one they passed earlier this month, because, oh my god, we have got to get moving on this, big wet kiss to the insurance industry and the rich people. Well, as it turns out, they're still sitting on it. See, the way it's supposed to go is that they're going to pass this turd of a bill. It's going to get sent to the Senate. Change would be made. And if, by some evil curse miracle thing on the Republican side, it managed to pass the Senate in any way similar to the way it used to be when it got there, it would go back to the House. They would vote on it, on any changes that the Senate made, then Trump would sign it, and then the Republicans would all be out on their ass come midterms. That was the initial plan. Evidently, new plan. As it turns out, Paul Ryan has not turned the bill over to the Senate yet. And the reasons they give are very interesting considering their initial announcements or their initial public opinions on the situation. So, there's an article in The Hill. I'll read you the gist of it here. House Republicans have not yet sent their Obamacare replacement bill, Trumpcare, to the Senate due to the possibility that the House could have to vote on it again if it fails to meet certain budget rules. The House, despite passing the repeal bill 2 weeks ago, is still waiting to send the legislation to the Senate until the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, or CBO, produces its analysis of the bill. So, now they actually want to wait for the CBO report. How about that? Yeah, because they never read the damn thing to begin with. Half of them don't even know what the hell's in it, and what exactly the changes are gonna cause. So now they actually want to, like, oh, let's hold on, no need to rush. Yeah, we were making changes to it until like 6-7 hours before we voted on it, but hey, let's not rush. Let's get this right. There's at least some possibility that the new CBO score of the revised bill would find that the measure no longer reduces the deficit, meaning that it does not meet Senate rules governing the reconciliation process, which Republicans are using to avoid a Democratic filibuster. The House would then have to change its bill and vote again. And see, has been one of the big issues, and why the American Health Care Act is so shitty. Well, the primary reason behind why it's such a big steaming pile of legislation is, because of GOP, and also too because the Affordable Care Act was already a right-wing piece of legislation. That's like, it was their idea. It was sort of an unintentional landmine for the GOP. The Affordable Care Act was, because it's already, like, that is the Republican answer. Seriously, like the Heritage Foundation, came up with the idea of Obamacare. They came up with it like years ago, like years and years, like before before the Affordable Care Act was, even a twinkle in Obama's eye. They came up with the concept. And it was initially the GOP's response to what was considered to be the inevitable universal health care or single payer or public option legislation that the Democrats were going to be coming up with at some point in the future, which they never did. So now that it comes time like that, they spend the last 7 years going, oh, we have to repeal it, we're going to repeal it, we're going to repeal it. Problem is that they've got nothing to replace it with that isn't absolute shit, because Obamacare is already absolute shit. He took their shitty healthcare plan and implemented it, so now they got nothing to fall back on. Because see, if it had passed single payer or it had passed a public option, then they at least could have fallen back on what's essentially the Affordable Care Act. But anyway. So, well, I lost my place again. Okay, so, they sent it to the Senate, it wouldn't, okay. I just went on a friggin' tangent, didn't I? I apologize for that. Hopefully it was informative, but anyway, back on the subject, the matter at hand here. The new bill. Why is it that it might not meet Senate rules? Well, that's because of something called the Byrd Rule, where at the moment in the Senate the Republicans do not have the votes to pass anything. They do not have to get around a filibuster, with the exception of certain key areas. And reducing the budget is one of them. That's where the Byrd Rule comes in, reconciliation, where they can pass legislation that is specifically to do with budget reduction only, and they with a simple majority, so 51 votes, or 50 with Mike Pence as the tiebreaker, who, big shocker who he's going to side with. But anyway, and because of that, no part, if any part of the American Health Care Act, aka Trumpcare, does not have a direct effect on reducing the budget, or is specifically meant to reduce the budget. Like, they can't just say, we're going to abolish Medicare, and by the way, that's going to, reduce the deficit. Well, yeah, it will, but that's not the point of it. So the point of what they're trying to get through reconciliation has to be about budget, like deficit reduction. So because of that, because of these new changes that they've put in place, now they actually do need the CBO, because they need to reevaluate it, and we need to look at the provisions that are in it and what effect they will have on the deficit. And in addition to that, even then, even if it will reduce the deficit, there's still an issue of that it cannot incidentally reduce the deficit. So basically, it can't be something that just as a byproduct reduces the deficit. It has to be specifically meant for it. So basically, that's why. Because if they send it in its current form, and the parts that do not meet that reconciliation rule would be potentially stripped away, then once the Senate votes on it, it would have to go back to the House to be re-voted on. And once it's re-voted on, if it doesn't have those things in it, all those little extra evil, extra shitty bits that managed to get the Freedom Caucus nutcases on board in the first place, then it can end up failing in the House again. So, anyway, let me continue with the article here. The bill is being held until CBO issues its final score, said Strong, a spokeswoman for Speaker Paul Ryan. The bill being held back in the House was first reported by Bloomberg. House Republicans say they are confident that the bill will hit the deficit reduction target, but are holding it out of an abundance of caution. See, and that's the thing there. They won't even take the time to read the entire bill and be aware of what it's going to do to their voters. But when there's the possibility that those special provisions that they really, really want for their donors, there's a possibility that those might get stripped away. Oh, well, now they want to be cautious, and now they want to make sure, they want to exercise an abundance of caution that they evidently didn't feel the need to exercise when they're initially passing this piece of shit. Anyway, the updated score is expected early next week. The CBO score of the earlier version of the bill found that it would reduce the deficit by $150 billion over 10 years, giving Republicans a considerable cushion. Well, also, too, they say it would reduce the deficit and it would save money, but I think like a lot of that money goes right back out the door in tax cuts. But anyway, the updated bill, though, includes an amendment allowing states to waive Obamacare rules governing what insurance plans must cover. Without those rules, more people could sign up for plans that are cheaper and less generous, drawing down more federal tax credits and costing more money. An analysis from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget found that if 6.5 million more people sign up, the bill will no longer reduce the deficit. And see, that's the issue too I have with this. Like this whole heap of crap that they're trying to push, the whole thing with Trumpcare, is that right here is their plan. It's like they don't, now they're concerned. Now they're concerned that, okay, well, we might cover too many people. We might cover too many people, and if we do that, well, that's going to just ruin us because it's not going to reduce the deficit. We won't be able to pass it. We want to make sure we don't cover too many people with our health care. And that's just the saddest, the sickest thing about this whole situation is that is their goal. They don't give a shit about covering people. They don't care about making sure you have health insurance. They just want to get their bullshit pushed through the House and Senate and signed by the buffoon-in-chief before he gets impeached, so that they can start coming through for the money. That's all they care about. If you're actually working, if you're actually serious about passing meaningful healthcare reform in this country, you wouldn't, the concept, the idea that you could potentially cover too many people would not even cross your mind, because that's the point, that's the goal. If you're actually going for meaningful healthcare reform, then the goal is 100% of the population covered. Anything less than that is not enough. And that's what we need to be going towards. Not this shit where it's like, oh, well, we can squeak it by without having to actually have bipartisan support, as long as we don't help too many people or provide too many people with insurance. Because then that'll sink us. If too many people are able to get, if too many people, to all any GOP representatives who could, out of hell, you never know, could actually see this. When your healthcare bill could get sunk because it could potentially cover too many people, you need to go back to the fucking drawing board, okay? Because that is not the direction, obviously not the direction you need to be going in right now. Alright, well, that was a 15-minute quick news update. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll see you next time.